And welcome, everybody. Hello, hello. Another Sunday, another live stream. This time it's a weekly wrap up. Welcome, welcome. I already have one viewer on YouTube. I can probably imagine who that is. But, anyways, welcome to another stream. And let me just check really quick if I am, if I'm live. Probably am. Yes. Yeah. I hope it's not lagging too much. Because I do have my hotspot on, so it shouldn't be lagging. And if it does, then I'll probably switch it. But uh, let's see. Anyways, so we are live, and we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter or X, and yeah, it should be a pretty good live stream. I did kind of experiment once again. Last time I invited, well, I do all my invites usually like I guess chat. Hola. Okay, we got comments coming in. Good. It's working. Yeah, so I usually invite people to my live streams like when I create the event, and from rat to okay, yeah, cool. Uh, I usually invite my people to my live streams like the link that invites. Usually when I do the post. This time I did the post on Tuesday or Monday, I think. But I invited people only 3 hours ago, so we'll see how that goes. Last time when I invited people, uh, I invited people the day before the stream, and there's more people showed up. So we'll see how many people show up today, and it should be interesting to see. First comment, darn autocorrect. Okay. Oh, from rat to okay, okay. First, okay. So like, what do you mean from rat to comment? That sounds a little weird. Yeah, and so yeah. Anyways, there was a lot of interesting topics that came about this week and stuff, and I am finally going to release my long-awaited short today. Right after the stream ends, I'm going to get something to eat, and then I'm going to finish editing that short. So yeah, stay tuned. Go on my YouTube channel if you want to see it. Obviously, Global Productions, and yeah, so that should be coming in about 2 or 3 hours or something like that. And interesting. In other news, also, hope everybody got more, sleep than they usually get. I know I didn't because I usually sleep like 6 hours, and I went to bed at midnight, and I woke up at 5:30 because I usually sleep around six and a half to 7 hours, and my body decided to wake me up at 5:30, and I've been awake since then, and I couldn't fall back asleep. So here I am. I might probably take a nap later, but we'll see about that. It's interesting how much an hour like time can affect you. But yeah, well, it's not as long as like an 8 hour. For example, an 8 hour, 7 hour jet lag, because yeah, those are long. You usually take like 3 4 days to get out of those, and so yeah. But anyways, it does kind of mess up your day a little bit, but it's what to be expected. That's life. And now on to the topics that I made videos on. This time I made, I think, 26. So yeah, I was consistent. I made one presentation video every day. So before that, I couldn't really. I was sick a little bit, and then I recovered, and then now I'm back to back to normal. And yeah, so there was there's like a quantum chip, more quantum breakthroughs and stuff. Then there was the Palisades nuclear plant. At first, when I read that, I was like, "Wait, are they gonna like build a nuclear plant in the Palisades neighborhood of L.A. where the fires happen and stuff like that?" And I was like, "No, no, no. Actually, it's like somewhere near Lake Michigan, or is it in Michigan? I think it's in Michigan." And that plant was operating for like 50 years, and in It might be because my microphone is. Hang on. Let me switch out my microphone because I haven't charged this in a while, so I guess it's telling me now that it's all over. I hope. I'm not sure how long it's. I'm not sure how long it's been off. Hopefully not too. Come on, not too long. But anyways, I don't know. What's the last thing you heard? I'll continue from there. I was actually on a good roll there. I didn't realize it turned off on me. Dang it, that sucks. I'm not sure. Anyways, I was talking about nuclear and EVs and reopenings, and that it's the safest, cleanest. That it's we already have disposure. No, like techniques of how to dispose it, basically. What's the last thing you heard? If anybody can remind me or tell me in chat what's the last thing they heard, I'll just continue right from that point. Few minutes, okay. So I'll go from the beginning. I'll just start from the disposal techniques, right? Submerging it in water, encasing it in like several layers of different materials. One of them is like concrete, then they put it in like metal, and then they submerge it deep underground in water tanks, so it allows it to cool down with nuclear waste. Oh, okay, pause it. So yeah, probably it went on for a little bit longer, probably, but yeah. Anyways, I saw a lot of people like there was like 3 viewers at some point, but then they just disappeared. So whoops, I guess. Never mind. Happens. It's just technology for you. Every single time. Always something wrong. Always. If it's not the Wi-Fi, it's the microphone. That's the first time I've ever heard. That's the first time I've had a microphone outage on stream ever, pretty much. Other than sometimes it crackled. But anyway, so nuclear waste, right? Like when I was younger and more impressionable, I used to watch The Simpsons, and The Simpsons always like kind of like showed, from the Springfield nuclear facility where there were tubes that were coming out, and they were like full of nuclear waste, and they were flowing directly into the rivers and turning fish into three-eyed fish, and there was like this green goo, and it was going to kill you. Yeah, that's what I thought. I used to be scared of it, but then when I looked into more how it worked, that it is really clean. It is really safe, as well as one of the safest energy sources as well, with one of the least amounts of deaths out of all of them. I think like only less is like the biothermal, I think, and then wind, and then there's nuclear, and then everything above that. So yeah, and that's that, or geothermal. That's the geothermal energy. And so then I looked into how the waste is dealt with. Submerged in tanks deep underground. Waiting for the half-life to be here and stuff, but it doesn't interfere with anything. And the amount of it, when I heard like a statistic about that if you took all the nuclear energy or nuclear waste from all the nuclear facilities in the U.S. right now for 60 years, it would fit inside of a Walmart. Which, sure, Walmart is huge, like a single Walmart, depending on which one. I think like a regular, not the neighborhood markets, the big ones. This what do they call it? I forgot, the supermarkets or whatever. Then yeah, that's a pretty big one. But over 60 years from all of the facilities in the U.S. right now, that's very manageable. And yeah, so, and there's definitely going to be new techniques found out how to do it faster with science, but we just need to invest more in it, obviously, which is happening right now, and that's good. So and then I went into, before I cut out, then I went into saying how California, especially California, but in general, like other countries and even the U.S., I think they're like, oh yeah, no more combustion engines by 2040, and I think California has that set to 2030, right? And I'm not sure if that's like no more manufacturing of combustion engines, or just like a complete combustion engine ban. Like you're only gonna be able to drive with an EV in like the state of California in 5 years, which would be a little drastic, but I don't know. Perhaps with what's been coming out of California recently, I would not be surprised. But anyways, So if you want all of that, right? If you want these EVs to work and run consistently with no outages, you need a lot of power. What will give you, that much power for, well, not the smallest cost, perhaps even that a little bit, but the cleanest and most efficient energy source is nuclear right now. You need nuclear power plants, and people have been long, really like not wanting it. Like, oh no, we don't need nuclear. Look at Chernobyl. Look at Fukushima. But those are like one-offs compared to how many nuclear reactors there actually are in the world. And most of the vast majority of, I'm not sure about the ones in China, with all the tofu drag construction stuff. I'm not sure about them. Seems like it's working for them for now. I hope it keeps doing that. I don't want any other Chernobyls happening from over there. But especially in the U.S., the only thing was a 3 Mile Island, which there were no deaths, there was no contamination. It was only a partial meltdown, and it got contained extremely quickly. Right, there was nothing that really happened there. It was just like a big thing because it was something with nuclear, and it was around the time that I think like a movie about a nuclear reactor failure in the U.S. happening. It coincided with like its release, so people were like, "Oh, they were starting to pay more attention to that." And I think it was like the China Alert was the name of the movie, and or something like that. And yeah, people started paying attention. I said, "No, no more nuclear," but that's stupid. That's stupid. You know, like imagine humans in the beginning of time. Uh, you know, they discovered fire. Now imagine like, oh, we have this brand new invention. It's fire. It gives you heat. It gives you everything. It's really like convenient. It's really good. So they discover fire and how to control it, how to contain it, and then some asshole burns his house down with it. Okay, or one or two houses, and they're like, okay, we can't use it anymore. It's too dangerous. Like imagine that. Imagine that at the dawn of time, if fire was like banned worldwide, we would not be out of the Stone Ages. Like it would be very bad. So that's the kind of situation I think we're in right now, and no new cars, but that's being reversed now. Like okay, so they're not going to be constructed anymore after or manufactured anymore after 2030. Okay, well, that's like yeah, I hope that's going to be reversed because I went into how basically you need for EVs you need all that to run, and also that more and more companies are also looking into now hybrid options. I believe one of the car manufacturers was Mercedes. I think they had an entire like EV fleet or whatever, but then they realized it would not have a lot of sales because EV sales are actually falling, and so they were like, you know what, yeah, let's look into hybrids and all of that. So yeah, in my opinion, hybrids are always going to be better than EVs. I mean, I just like when you drive a gasoline car, you like the sound of it, right? For example, if you have a V8 or something like that, it's a nice sound, and it's just a hugely different feel than an EV or a hybrid. But a hybrid is definitely more efficient than either one of those two. So yeah, and so that's what I was going into. And look at that, we're already 21 minutes in. That's actually pretty wild. Yeah, well, I mean, I got hung up with the microphone stuff. Probably would have been on to other topics, but it is what it is. And yeah, so that's nuclear right now. That's the story of nuclear, and I hope it keeps getting reversed and that more investments are going to come in for reopening old ones and into new facilities as well. Whew, okay, the next one that got the most views actually on my channel right now was China blacklisting a Canadian firm. I forgot which one was it. It was like I guess like a journalist firm, or like a kind of like a science. I don't know if it was a science magazine or like a basically a firm that does scientific research, and they did a teardown on who I think a Huawei phone, and so yeah, Huawei's, and they had these AI chips and all of that stuff, and they had like, oh yeah, it's actually good technology, but what they didn't realize is that, well, what they realized is that Huawei was using uh you know foreign chips, but most countries have export bans on these chips, and so they're like, hang on, so how do they get into this to these phones if they can't import them? If China cannot import these chips, how do they get into these phones? Well, even though they circumvented these international bans by using middlemen, and there was like other stuff, it was a whole thing. And basically, for this teardown, the response to that was immediate. The CCP instantly like put them on the blacklist or whatever, and meaning like Chinese citizens can't read this magazine because of course they would. They kind of exposed a pretty big lie, I would say. So Huawei's phones aren't actually, because they think like, oh yeah, China actually has the um, technology or whatever. No, they're just importing it, and they were importing it illegally. So that's what they got. That's what the backlash there was, and the other one was, obviously, anything that's on your phone, whatever you do, it's never private, never, ever, ever. Despite what companies might claim to you, what they will tell you, it's always, somebody's always watching. Like I always say, the enemy is always listening, and usually it's the truth. Then next one was remember that whole Cracker Barrel thing that exploded. I think it was in July, over the summer, basically. Well, I was like, oh, they need to revert it, and the new rebrand is terrible, and all that stuff. And they called it woke or whatever. I was like, it's not really even woke. I'm able to differentiate between things. That wasn't woke at all. It was just they were trying to plan for the future, right? Because having a giant freaking logo like that, and the man sitting there with the barrel and the huge like the bean or whatever, and the weird font, like long term and marketing wise, it would not be good. Also, they wanted to make it more visible and more just in your face, punctual on billboards, and people, they still got backlash for it. And the only thing I might disagree with was going to be the you know like they were going to redesign like all the interiors, and they were going to take out some of the antique stuff. With the antiques, they always have like these old trinkets there, and like people didn't like that. I would say like you would kind of destroy the soul of that restaurant. But yeah, definitely the logo was like very justified, and if you looked at the logo more closely, the outline, the yellow outline, was actually the barrel, because they were like, oh yeah, they're taking away everything. Well, they kept the barrel in there as well. But uh, that whole backlash that turned out was like, what was it, the percentage? 46 or 49% bot driven. Like half of all internet traffic, negative, positive, I think mostly negative, obviously. Like the vast majority of the bot responses were negative. I wonder why. And yeah, it had real world you know effects, and it dropped their stock by 10%. They lost millions in market value in just like a day, and it was absolutely crazy. And it was just because somebody somewhere bought enough bots, and just basically crafted like a whole narrative, just like, oh yeah, it's bad, fire the CEO, whatever. And other people obviously got caught in that, like especially with media, um, like not just social media, but actual legacy media, like Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all these different media. They caught onto it, and they're like, oh yeah, there's backlash, there's backlash. Well, there wasn't any real backlash. It's just that more like prominent figures, even like Donald Trump, obviously, like, he commented on that whole situation. And so more prominent figures caught on to it. That's the only reason why it went viral. Other than that, if you asked any customers that were actually like going to the restaurant regularly, you know, well, they were actually like happy with the redesign. They didn't see anything like wrong with it. Not really, like not with the logo at least. I'm not sure how it was with the interior redesigns, but with the logo, they were pretty happy with it. It was normal. But this whole kind of online phantom outrage just spawned out of nowhere, and it wasn't even real people. So and it cost them millions. They had to fire the marketing firm. They spent probably a good couple of thousand on that. So yeah, just don't always give into what the media says. Don't always give into that, or social media, people on social media, because you might think they're your like customers or your audience or something like that, but sometimes it's literally just bots. And that was the case here. And I didn't even get to go into newest topic that I had, which was the Starship Chrysalis. It was only conceived recently at like a tech conference or something like that. They realized, they kind of came up with this, not really a blueprint, but just this concept of a ship that would go to Proxima Centauri B, which is an exoplanet which is orbiting, Proxima Centauri, the star. And so they're like, yeah, it would need to reach substantial speeds, and like it would take a long while to get there, like 400. It would be a 400-year journey, is what they estimate, and it would be on a 36-mile like tin can, basically. And they would have to be like people manning it. There would literally be generations living on there, and you would set off. You would have children, and you would die. Your children, they would have to work towards the goal. Then they would have children. Then they would die. Only like 10 generations, or like more, like, I don't know. If a generation is 20 years, then like 20 generations. Only 20 generations later would they actually get there. And they were like thinking like through all these, like how would they basically keep the cohesion? How would they keep it mission focused? So that there's not like a mutiny or a rebellion and all that stuff. And how to basically, because if you're in space too long without gravity, especially like if you're born there and literally like live there all your life, your bone density, your muscle structure is just going to be very much deformed and shaped. You're going to evolve, obviously, and it's not going to be in a good way. So they needed to have like artificial. They figured like, oh yeah, we need this artificial gravity field kind of, and they were like, we're going to rotate the ship. There's a whole like bunch of questions about that, and it's also that's also interesting. But I'll probably talk about that more next stream. And yeah, other than that, it was a nice stream. We're already at 30 minutes, so I had a lot of talking. I had to repeat myself because just my microphone decided to stop working. Hope this one's still working. I guess so. And other than that, yeah, well, that was weekly. This was weekly wrap up, and I hope you enjoyed the show. If you are looking at this a couple of hours later, a couple of days later, thank you for watching all the way to the end. And I will see you next Monday at the exact same time, 11 a.m. Next Sunday at the exact same time, 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern. And other than that, have a great rest of your day. Have a blessed Sunday, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye bye.